Hi, I'm 𝙎𝙧𝙢𝙚. I'm Director Gallerie Nvyā. I'd like to welcome you all for a panel discussion today. And I'd like to just introduce the panelists out here. Seema Kohli, as we all know, is a multidisciplinary artist who has created her own niche in the world of contemporary art for the past 35 years. Her creative repertoire is eclectic, spanning a wide range of mediums ranging from paintings, murals, experiential performances, installations, films, performances. Seema's work reveals a celebration of beauty, sensuality, intimacy in her art. Her last solo show with Nvyā was 13 years back, and we are super thrilled to be part of this. Thank you, Seema, for being here. �12🙗 Puri is an art impresario, curator and writer. She's an author of several books, including In Black and White, a biography of Manjeet Bawa, and Faces of Indian Art through the lenses of Nimai Ghosh. She produced Meeting Manjeet, a film on eminent artist Manjeet Bawa, which won the National Award. �12🙗's 3-decade-long engagement with the art embraces everything from tribal art and folk theatre to contemporary performing art. Thank you for being here, Inadi. Premish Achari is a Delhi-based writer and curator. He's a recipient of Pro Helvetia Art Writers Award in 2021. He's also a recipient of Premia Art Foundation's Art Scribbles Award in 2018. In 2023, Premish directed a short film, The Other Faces, that documents the artistic thinking of the iconic sculptor Ravindra Reddy. Thank you for being here, Premish.
Thank you for that, Meher. That was very generous. Seema Kohli writes, "The earth and the sky making love in the sea, the sound of its dreaded laughter is the birth of this 𝙤𝙢𝙢𝙚. This infinite body of consciousness binding us to her, bearing the sperm of continuity. You have it too. We come from one single womb. Why then despair? Aren't we then all cut from the same cloth? But what is that which is beyond this body, which exists in every single form, creating this invisible body? Isn't it love? Isn't it beauty? Isn't it joy?" Seema, I guess it's all of that as we sit in this room surrounded by beauty, joy, love, sensuality, spirituality. I mean, it is so wonderful to be here. And yes, are we all cut from the same cloth then?
Well, I believe so. And thank you for your kind words, Ina. I believe in this, and I have lived it, and I feel it all around me. Whenever I have tried to sort of question it, it has always come back as there is no difference. When I see in somebody else's eyes, I see my own self, and everything seems so much in continuity. We are breathing each other all the time. We cannot exist without each other, I would say, whether they are trees, animals, birds. We are constantly in collaboration with each other, and that's the tandem of this constant, existence is so beautiful that it almost brings that sense of celebration, that sense of festivity all the time happening around you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Seema, when it comes to this particular body of work, I would like to go back to 2016, which is when you first started working with this collective.
Yeah.
I would like for you to walk us through that journey and tell us a bit about these karigars, the people who worked with you on these amazing, incredible images. Tell us a bit about them, their lives, where they came from, who were they?
I was thinking about doing this work in 1991, actually. I started thinking and I started working on it, but it was just not possible. the means and I'm not talking about the finances or where to show these kind of works. And I was not looking at the expanse at that time. I was looking at much, much more smaller works and stuff, but I could not sort of work around it. And it sort of sat in my subconscious since then. And when I was just talking about Grayson Perry, about when I was in London at Tate and I saw his work. And I was again, I said, no, I have to do this. You know, somehow it should happen. And then in 2016, when I was offered to come to Raj Initiative and to see how they are.
What is Raj Initiative?
The Raj Art Initiative. It is an export house, like highly commercial, but at the same time, they wanted to start an art initiative where several artists come and probably have another holistic way of looking at work, at the idea of creation, or not into an industrial or a very commercial way, but in a very different way. And I was drawn to it, and I said, yes, I've got to do it. And how, I didn't know, because they had tufting looms, and I said, let me experiment on with tufting and all that. But for almost 2 years, I struggled with the idea of tufting and, tapestry and how to, through the looms. But it was just not happening because the feel of the artwork was very nice. It was more, because the tufting is like a towel or a carpet, So you could walk on it, but as an artwork, you could not I could not relate to it. And I said, no, we got to do something else. We got to do embroidery, maybe hand embroidery, maybe machine embroidery, but it is not working. But the problem was that the workers or the people who they had employed for creating their industrial work, which was carpets and daris and stuff, they were not from traditional artisans or skilled labor or something. They had no idea. They were just coming here from different states to get a job, a 9-to-5 job where they can, earn their living respectfully. And when I was talking about embroidery, they said, but they don't know, they don't have any idea. I said, no, let's try, let's get the machines and so we just had 2 machines. All this work is done on just 2 machines, and that's why probably it has taken us about 6 years, 7 years of making. And these people, I must say, initially were wondering, what is this? You would, if you see downstairs, there are 2 circular works. I think we made those circular works about 4 or 5 times because we wouldn't get the right circle, and we had no idea. I had no idea because I've never worked with even an assistant in my studio. So for me there was Captain in between who was almost, sort of my communicator. And over the years, the distance between me and the karigars that reduced, and it was such a joy seeing them that, ma'am, isko kaise ye बनेगा क्या इसका आप करेंगे क्या, कपड़ा बनाएंगे, because they could not think of it as an artwork to be hung on a wall. They had no idea about that. अच्छा, मतलब इसको क्या करना है, इसका आप सूट बनाएंगे तो क्या करेंगे, so I kept telling them that let's see, पहले बनाते हैं, देखते हैं. So over the years, I think I learned a lot from them. I don't know, they really gave me that respect. I must say that they transferred my work. I think that's the right way, from painting to an artwork. an embroidered artwork. And that's how they came from different spaces, but they were very happy, they were very open. Their excitement of this experimentation, I think, moved into mine and mine into them, and I would every time be talking to them that करके देखते हैं अब क्या होगा.
So for them also it was an experience, because when you
Yeah.
said that they were initially quite,
Yeah.
they were amazed. I mean, what were you going to do with it?
Yeah,
And then they also had for them also it was a journey to move
was.
to a space where they saw it as a work of art.
Yeah, and I think they started to respect their own work, their own what came out of what they did. They were quite surprised, and then we started to do bigger works, and that was a joy. And there was a point at one point, Captain thought that, "Ma'am, ये कब होगा? Finally, when will the show happen? Would it ever happen?" Because every time I would go and I would say, नहीं इसके अंदर ये लाइन ठीक नहीं है, इसके अंदर ये लाइन ठीक नहीं है, इसमें थोड़ा सा और ये रंग का शेप देते हैं, ये करते हैं. So, and when we are doing so many works, every time it was decided, okay, now इस बारी तो complete हो गया. And again, I would go and I'd say, नहीं, अभी थोड़ा सा और है, इसके अंदर और करना है, इसके अंदर ये और करना है. But I think it is for you all to see here, that how beautifully each work has been. For me, beauty is really important in my work. I carve it out, I must say, and crave for it both ways. I like it. I like my works to be beautiful. It is the embellishment of sequins and beads is much later, but the embellishment of the form itself, how the movement of the form was very important, to move in the same way as. I can go on and on.
You can,
You tell
please
an
go on
artist.
if you want
No,
to.
I am so sorry.
No.
Just,
No, congratulations first
Thank
of
you
all
so
for
much,
this
Premish.
beautiful show, and thank you Seema, thank you Tripat, and thank you Meher for having both of us here actually. Ina has started with some very important and insightful observations about your work. And I was very excited about this. Like we were discussing, this is also the right time to shift certain perspectives about your practice, which is categorizing you, compartmentalizing you into certain aspects and certain stereotypical nature. When an artist engages with craft, an artist engages with myths, an artist engages with the philosophical traditions of the country.
yeah.
So let's use this opportunity for shifting the perspectives. Let's also use this opportunity for self-evaluation, which is what we want to
It's
hear
very
from you too. And one thing which really struck me today was the labor which usually goes alienated, which goes invisible when an artist collaborates with artisan, is made very evident here. The collaboration is made very apparent and evident here.
Yeah.
And I'm very fascinated by that and curious by that choice, and I would like to know more about that. It's quite a bold and a sensitive choice.
Yeah, it is. And I must say one thing, Premish. For me, it is very important to break my barriers. I'm constantly trying to do that. Wherever I feel I may be needing a little more space to move out, I try to do that. And if I'm told very openly that I have a great family of my 2 children, Anshika and Swabu, who are great in telling me that, well, here is an opportunity for you. You are collaborating, but can you do anything without them? And if you are, it is very important to bring them on to the stage. So firstly it was that, and secondly I must say I had a very good, she was not the curator, Anushka Rajendran, who was with me all throughout. You know, sometimes if you do not have a proper team with you who is probably telling you, there can be also time when somebody can say कि नहीं ऐसी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, you know, you can go ahead, you're the artist, of course, but you don't need to, you're the brand and you're this, you're that, you know. It certainly feels very good, but it was very nice to have her also along with me, who was telling me, well Seema, don't you think it is a great idea to take them along? And I said, yes, we must do that. So it is also everywhere I feel you cannot move alienated. You cannot move alone. One leg needs the other leg to move you further. So for me, that was very, very important. So that's one of the reasons why it brought me closer, and the idea that I'm working on, cut from the same cloth. This was a title given by Anushka for her writing, and I realized that that was the whole spirit that she had sort of condensed in one line, and it just brought me closer to the people I was working with. It was very easy for me to break that line, and I have always worked on the idea of coming from the same single space, the golden womb and other things. So it was rather nice to live that experience, to live that word, or the whatever I was saying. It brought me closer to myself, and I think that was the thing. There was another question that you asked, or was it this only about the workers, the artisans?
No, I was addressing an important point of this exhibition, which is that the workers are an important integral part of the exhibition. They are not hidden anywhere. One thing which I was curious also is how do they see these works? What was their response?
Their response was initially quite, you know, they were thrilled to be working with an artist who was known, for them to be working with somebody known. But initially they were just not, they were wondering, you know, like, कि हमको ये अच्छा time मिला है, you know, we could probably do something else, or relax, or work overtime, or, you know, do things which
tell us more about the tensions and the conflicts.
Yeah, there were a lot of other things that they were thinking कि ये क्या कर रहे हैं, मतलब इसका क्या फायदा है, काम तो मेरा tufting का है, वो that's what I do. You know, I have to make daris, I have to make this. That lady is thinking I have to go and, you know, do the picking of the wool and all that. And now I'm sitting here learning this. And this artist is going to tell me, other captain is telling me something, you know. So initially I am sure they were excited, but at the same time they were not getting like the purpose. But by the time we completed all the works, I must say the joy that radiated from them was reflected on me. I was just like feeling so happy to be a part of their journey too, as they were a part of my journey, you know. But I felt that it was a journey that they made in their own process, because they never thought that they were making such big, there's no in between stitching or something. They knew that they would see it like that. But the moment I had the first show was installed at the Raj Initiative in their workshops. So that was the time that they saw the expanse of the work. They were stretched out, and they were, And they were thrilled, and that was the time they wanted to know the stories behind these.
So Seema, you've also made this very interesting film, which actually, it shows this whole process. Your relationship with almost each and every person in that group. Then they're reaching out to you. So it was there in the film. Premjish, I don't know whether you had a chance to see, the film. So how did that? Do catch the film.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about the film. And I think it's such an essential part of this exhibition.
So it turned out to be a documentary much later. I went there with the idea of performing. It was more of a performative act along with the workers or the artisans who worked with me, who were part of my team, and others also. Because the ladies with whom I sat and I actually sang the songs they were not a part of the embroidery team. But I wanted to go and meet them and pay my respects to them, because they were the first space from where the wool was taken and converted into thread. They were the ones who were doing the pecking, and I wanted to go and meet them. When I went
pecking.
It's called pecking, chugna.
Yes.
So the moment they said this word to me, I was almost in a trance, and I said, what a word. It's like disintegration. And from that disintegration, you are integrating it into a thread. That word was the most beautiful part of the whole thing. And I changed the idea of my performance into their performance. And I sat down with them. I did not realize it. I realized it much later when I was watching the video, that गर्भ की तरह एक circle बनाया और circle में हम बैठे, and I wanted to talk. The moment I wanted to hear their stories were songs. And these songs were so beautiful. In the songs, they were talking about their mother-in-law, how she beats them, how the husband comes every day drunk, and how she kicks him out of the house. These were the songs, and they were, you could cry on it, you could smile and laugh. And they asked me, can you understand what we are saying? ऐसे मुझे सब समझ में आ रहा है, आप फिक्र मत करो, मुझे बिल्कुल अच्छे से समझ में आ रहा है. So that whole thing was, the beauty was the idea of celebration, the idea of this feminine I talk about. I could see it there. What I talk about, I could see it there. And as I talk to you, we were just talking, the idea of trust, which I think we have lost so much in our city lives, or whatever we can say, was so strong between the women there, that that became my work, or that became my performance. Their performance became my work, or whatever that can be.
Also, music, singing is so much a part of the women who sit and embroider, whether it's a katha makers of Bengal, whether it's a pulkari, people who are making those pulkaris, for dowries. They sit, and as they stitch, they sing, or the charkha is used as a metaphor, whether it's Nusrat's song elsewhere. And that is so evident here in the whole process of your work and the rhythm of that.
Yeah. I don't know if I was able to tell you that when I was talking to the women, every time I would go there, I would be talking to the women, I would be talking to the men. The women do all the work which men do. If you see them carrying the kind of load, I think I was just collapsing looking at them. So it was not anything about being a man or a woman, but the pressure of being a man and the liberty of being a woman, I could see there. The freedom a woman holds in herself, I could see there. When I talked to a woman there, one worker with me over there, and I asked her that, आप इधर आते हो, आप क्या, आपको क्या, मतलब क्यों आते हो आप, किसके लिए आते हो? आपको अच्छा लगता है यहाँ पे आके काम करना? मतलब 16 साल से कोई काम कर रहा है, somebody is working for 10 years, 15 years. I said, आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है यहाँ पे? तो very simply, most of them, they said, हमें यहाँ पे आपस में मिलना अच्छा लगता है. So I said, हाँ but आप तो काम कर नहीं, हम इकट्ठे गाना गाते हैं, खाना खाते हैं, कोई खाना नहीं बना के लेके आता तो वो हम शेयर कर लेते हैं. तो the same here, there was a idea of festivity, of togetherness, of collaboration, of just meeting each other. That was the thing. And when I talked to few men there, it was, हाँ आते हैं 9 से 5 नौकरी करके चले जाते हैं और क्या है मतलब. And suddenly I felt, you know, the pressure of being a man is so strong that they have gotten probably here, you know, the sense of duty prevailed. So this is also patriarchy, where patriarchy has given a lot of power or privilege to a man. It has also stunted a lot of things in him. And I could see that very evidently. I don't know if it is relevant in this conversation, but this was one of my takeaways from them.
I think again, yeah, Ina had asked a very important question about the sound, the rhythm, which is, I could connect it with this play called Made in Bangladesh, which is about the textile workers. And the textile work, you know how difficult the conditions are of the Bangladeshi textile workers. And the performance is integrated with Kathak. So they perform this rhythm of folding, stitching and everything through Kathak performance, Kathak movement. So the rhythm of the machine becomes the rhythm of the body. So the machine is replicated by the body. And here, via art, by what you have done, there is a possibility to liberate the body from the machine.
Yeah.
There is a possibility.
There is a possibility, and probably that's what it was, that हमें नहीं पता था हम ये बना रहे हैं. You know, when they said in the end, it was sort of a gift that I got from them when they said, हमें पता ही नहीं था कि हम ये बना रहे हैं. कितना सुंदर लग रहा है, you know. अपने when you are able to sort of alienate yourself from your own work and see it and find it beautiful, I think that was something, as you said, that they could, you know, when you are liberating your body from your sort of work, the machine.
Also, another important facet of the exhibition is the poetry. Of especially the Bhakti poetry, which is also not only this exhibition, which is integral to you. You're personally also. It's not like you have just dumped it for the exhibition. You are a believer in that particular tradition of poetry, of that entire belief system. And when you look at that tradition of poetry, for them the metaphor of weaving, the metaphor of fabric, which is of plurality, coexistence is very important for that particular. Yeah, weaving, fabric, all these things are very important for them. And especially for the current political climate also, where we are, this idea of coexistence is very important. So how do you integrate these complex philosophical messages into these visual works? It will be very important for even young artists to understand, because everybody grapple with concepts, philosophies and everything, and where many struggle is to give when they translate it into a visual structure.
You know, here it is something, the concepts came almost at the same time to me as my imagery at a very young age. The concepts were given as again a takeaway from my family, you know, and it's not important for everyone to imbibe that. I got interested in the idea of body and soul, this complete interplay of body and soul being two different things and being connected with this thread of breath at a very young age. And I think that it started very early, and how I could express it. So that was the reason I did my philosophy honors. I wanted to study more about Western philosophy. I was fairly, conversant with the Eastern side, but I had no idea about Western philosophy, and I studied that. And that after that, I did my, applied arts. So what happens is, when you are thinking, and it is when you pull out water from the well, तो पानी तो सहज ही आता है. The water will, the moment you will try to pull out water from the well, the water will come out. The same way, your thoughts very easily get translated into the language you choose. Like, the language I choose is images, line. That is my strongest point. And it's not, I have never found any difficulty in sort of converting my thoughts into an image, because probably they come sahaj, they come easily, and I'm already delving into them. It's very easy for me to, I don't know, I'm not being very, I don't want to,
You're doing fine.
But I feel that it's the moment you live that life, the moment you live those concepts, the moment you live that idea of freedom in your daily existence, the moment you are living that, telling yourself that yes, there is no difference between me and you, and at the same time you are creating a rift between you and probably the people you are working with, I think there is a problem.
Also, interestingly, Seema was telling me there is a work in this exhibition, which is which is a current work. There is one work that was with Tripath.
Yeah.
And it's an early work of hers. But try and find out which one it is. It somehow melds and it becomes a part of this exhibition. So there is continuity. There is, I think, some of those leitmotifs, the images of the wings, for instance, the one of flight. So these are the images that recur in your work.
The idea of flight was very important to me, because as a child, my dad asked me one question: what is the farthest you can see? And the farthest I could see was the building opposite to me, opposite to, in the lane opposite, like in the opposite house. And I said, well, I can see Babi's house, like right here, right here. And he said, you know what? For a villager, his sight is infinity. His vision goes to infinity, and you must always look at the sky. And that was such a beautiful thing. I heard that as a very young, I think I must have been 6, 7 years old. And the idea of flight, or the idea of breaking that gravity. And I think I was always encouraged to be a little rebellious. And that, I think, brought about all these works. And, expression changed easily into imagery. And from imagery, it is, once you have the image on you, I think it's so easy to convert it into any medium that you want. And it can be music, it can be... In fact, I was working with my musician a few days back, and I was telling him, well, this sounds like Spanish, this is this. And he says, you know about music? I said, I don't know. I've never heard Spanish music, but I think it is that, it is this. Because then you become more in tune with the intuitive part of your own expression. I think that may be the thing. I don't know if I've answered your question. I talk a lot, but...
Of course. But I think there's one question that people might want to know. that when it comes to a collaborative work, who takes ownership?
Collaborative work here it is, I think it's my work, it's my artwork which has been interpreted. If it was, and because at some point, an artist takes the lead here because it is his expression which has been interpreted in other things. But the due respect and the spirit
You have
of
acknowledged
collaboration has
them.
to be there, and that's what I did.
Which is what
I tried my best to be honest to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because of late we have been seeing collaborative efforts. Manu and Madhavi's work recently in Bombay, for instance, which a fashion house has taken over, and they exhibited it in Bombay. And it was interesting to see that the paintings, originally the design is theirs, but it's been given a different form by the people who've actually made those embroiders.
No, but I am very happy, because when I started, I was really unsure of what I was doing, whether this was about 7 years back. So all these kind of efforts by other artists, they make way for us. It came about before me. Otherwise, I would have had to work harder for it. And this was a much bigger collaboration with Vogue and Chanakya coming in between. So it made it easier for me to show this kind of
But I would think that they are parallel journeries because you were working in your own way.
Yeah, I was working and I didn't know what I was doing. Actually, I was sort of experimenting with my own, ideas and my own subconscious and things, and there was so much of, I was not sure that I am working, I'm doing such big works, but where am I going to show? Is there somebody who is going to be ready to show it? But then this happened, Manuda, Madhviti happened, and I'm so grateful to them because it took a different, absolutely a different league. It went on to a different space. It always is helpful when the different artists are working at a different time.
When there were exhibitions and we saw some exquisite kathas, for instance, mostly in shows in other countries, somehow the artist or the person who was making this work really never made that kind of a name. That person remained anonymous.
A long time, yes. No, I was very happy when you said that these are your works, because in the current, again, the artistic climate, it's very politically correct. It has become this politically correct practice to disown authorship. By doing that, you are disowning the autonomy and also your own responsibility towards the work of art. And that's what I see a lot in collaborative practices. That happens, but it's also right in a way that it's mutually developed in such a way where here it's working together. And I think that's where we need to make these minute distinctions that happen in collaboration itself. And here it's working together to again give a final outcome to your own visual imagination.
If everyone starts to do their own kind of work, well, the work would have never got completed.
Absolutely. Someone has to give direction. It's your...
it has to be one person's ownership, and it has to be one one artist's vision. So, yes.
No, as I said, this is a good opportunity because, like you said, your background from applied arts, right?
Sorry?
You have a background in applied arts.
Yes,
not fine arts, right?
Not fine arts at all.
Yeah, so when you look at our own history of fine art colleges, which you see around in India, most of them started as industrial art colleges. They did not start as fine art colleges, where the idea of the colonial regime was to churn out craftsmen, not artists. And initially they were the ones who entered these industrial art colleges.
I visited the Lucknow College of Art and Craft. I was surprised it was called Art and Craft. It was such a beautiful space. I was just wondering, why are you still calling it that? They said because no one has changed it. It was, I think, in some early 1900s, hundreds, it was opened, and it has almost the first printing press. It was a beautiful, kind of a building, and all kind of different kind of places inside, like mediums to work in. But it was called the College of Art and Craft. I was really industrial kind of a thing.
Yeah, so that is what, like, so works like this or shows like this also allows us to introspect the history of pedagogy, of the institutional history, of these kind of complex relationships that exist, or the hierarchies, the binaries that exist, especially between art and craft. And that is something very divisive and very brutally kind of ingrained into our pedagogy itself.
Absolutely. And now it is even getting, if we look at from one side, the boundaries are getting lesser and lesser, but blurred. But at the same time, the conceptual art and craft is become very different. Like conceptual art is about, and then when it is getting manufactured, it's become craft. The people who are manufacturing it is craft, and the person who is conceptualizing it is the artist. So, I don't know, there are always two sides to the whole thing. I don't know if you've got what I'm trying.
I got,
Yeah.
and I have a longer response to this, but maybe other time.
Yeah, maybe someday we will sit down and just discuss this.
Want to add something?
No, I just wanted to make a comment here, which is not, in a sense, perhaps related to this exhibition, which is this, that having known Seema now over a period of time, and her family very well, I find it very interesting that she's made a family of all these karigars outside, but in her own space at home, her children professionally are doing their own thing. They are like
Yes.
detached. One is a wonderful, of course, photographer, Anshika Verma, and 𝙬𝙧𝙤𝙢 Kohli, who works as a designer. And it's wonderful because each person is given their own space and lives to go and do their own thing, while she befriends and kind of,
Yeah, but we are
So
a
one
very
more thing to
close
add here,
family.
just one more thing, taking a
Yeah.
cue from that. And that's what, again, also was very interesting for me, is that this is a feminist project without claiming it to be like strongly that this is a feminist project. Its politics is very subtle but very
Yeah.
powerful, with its female friendships, solidarities, coming together, working together.
Sure, sure. In fact, a few days back, somebody said, just commented that, you do make women bodies, but you're not a feminist. I said, so what? Maybe I'm not. So it's not about claiming. Your work has to be talking about it, and your life has to be very symbolically expressing that. And
That's what Ina said.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But Seema, quick question
Yeah.
is, after this fabulous exhibition and working together with these women and some men, what happens to them? Will
They're
they
still
continue?
working. They're still working over there, and they are going to be doing projects. It is very much on.
Do you think there is any likelihood of any one of of these people kind of
The
emerging?
moment they start expressing on their own, I think that would be a win-win thing.
I guess.
That's going to be something which is look forward to, and they are also looking forward to it, and so am I.
Thank you.
So the seeds are sown. So
Yes,
let's
I hope
On
so.
that note,
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll-
Thank you
Thank
so much.
very much. Thank you.
I said that they are doing work which was as or equal to or more than the men, but the way they handle their workspace is that they come, while working you can be singing, you don't need to be crying while working. So they come there, they work, but they make their friendships which are stronger, and that is the difference between a man and a woman. That's what I said. That's the reason it took 6 years or 7
yeah,
years.
absolutely.
Because the works kept going, back and forth that okay, some more, and I'm glad that the end result was this, and they were also happy about it. Yeah, very much. I'm doing more. There are more projects other than this because for me they're not projects. They're with different streams.
Absolutely.
They're just going in a flow.